unscrew and do it. So I'll get to you right in just a second. So the answer is just in terms of our normal conversation, you're going to hear words from me, and you'll be able to determine what I am. Just in terms of us having a conversation, I'm going to know what is important to you very quickly. In terms of, so what do you want out of life? Honestly, do you mind, let's just play a little game here for a second. What are you doing this for?
What I want out of life is to be in a position to just spontaneously take time off and go.
So what you're saying is you'd like some more freedom, is that right? Okay. Why is that important to you? You feel you don't have a lot of freedom right now? Okay. So you're in a job that doesn't give you a lot of flexibility. Okay, what is he? What are the words that we just exchanged there? Every one of them was kinesthetic. It's all feeling related.
But I see myself as very strongly visual.
Well, but the conversation you just gave to me, what you elicited, or what I elicited from you in terms of that, it wasn't a, I want to drop in a moment's notice and be able to go see the world. It was, I want freedom and flexibility, which are both feelings. They're both abstract. I can't give you a vision of freedom. I can maybe give you a flag holding or whatever else, but when you described to me what you just said, I would have pursued you on a visual, not on a visual side, but on a kinesthetic side. And the way that I did, I followed you on a kinesthetic level. So the words that I threw at you and you agreed with were kinesthetic. Does that make sense? So what you're being fed, somebody may believe that they're visual, by the way, and they're really not. Somebody may believe that they are auditory and they are visual. And what it is, it will be primarily fed up to you by what they say in terms of the conversation. So you can be visual on how you chose your wife. And you can be auditory everywhere else. But in terms of the conversation that we're having, that I'm going to know what is important to you. So why you're doing this is so you can have freedom. So you can drop at a moment's notice and go wherever you want to go. You want to have the freedom and flexibility. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Wonderful. You had a hand up.
The reason why I hand up because I hear and I feel that what he's looking for is a process of learning this material. Because that's what you're talking about, how the visual, kinesthetic, and auditory. How do you learn this? And if that's the question, because I remember when I first started learning this years ago, I would use the TV, just turn the sound down and learn, just watching. Then I would turn the sound up, and then I would listen for just kinesthetic words only. And then maybe a week later or 2 days later, I just listen for all auditory. And just because you try to do it all, and your brain just freezes.
Yeah.
But if you segregate it and you break it down and learn one thing well, then you learn the other, and pretty soon you get it where it'll just pop out. You
Right.
hear them all the time.
Exactly, and that's a very good way of doing it. I would normally, and so I'll take your example in terms of sitting down in front of the TV and listening for just one. I would the first time I would do it, I would listen for how many of every word I could get. So whether this is television, whether this is radio, or you're just sitting in a restaurant overhearing somebody else's conversation, pull out a little notepad and put A, V, and K, and put a little tick mark next to every one that happens. And then in terms of your conversations with somebody, you're going to put a little tick mark in terms of the words that you're using. And you'll come to very quickly realize how much of your own buying decision or buying criteria you're surrendering left and right.
Now, when you're in Z mode and you're sitting in the pub, the same thing or not?
Once you... So once you know how to do this, you'll turn it on and off. Because when I'm having a sales conversation or when I'm talking with a client, it is always on. When I'm having a conversation with my wife, she kills me if I have it on. She will absolutely crucify me if she knows what I do. So, but you gotta be sensitive to it, you can't do this all day, every day, but I'll tell you, wholeheartedly, this works. You had a question?
Yeah, you talked about on the board doing something auditory digitally.
Yeah.
Did we do that?
We did not, we skipped that one.
Okay.
So, auditory digital is all of the fact words and things along those lines. If you guys thought you had a hard time with one of the other ones, you would kill me if I gave you that one. So I'm going to give it to you so you have it in the slides, so that if somebody feeds it up to you, you can regurgitate it to them or you can practice it. But it's just one of those things where I have 4 solid minutes of people looking at each other with blank stares. So, yes.
Any correlation between this and the, lucky numbers process, et cetera? So, for example, if you're visual, if the client is visual, but you also can see that they are numbers, well, that's too easy. You know what I'm saying? Do you mix the two together, or how do you do that?
So the benefit is if you've got somebody who's visual, more times than not, they are also a circle. So they are still driven by the vision. But you do have the weird part every now and again where you've got somebody who is visual, but they're driven by numbers or processes. And so you'll identify that by, again, the questions that they ask and the words that they use. And it's funny because you'll sit down, and guys, seriously, there's a lot of you here, and you probably don't know each other, and if you came alone, or you came with a spouse, or you came with friends, I would encourage you to find another group or person or whatever else, go out to dinner with them, and just have conversations and listen to what is being said and how you're saying it. And you'll start going, oh my gosh, that Tom Ritchie actually said something that means something to me. Does that make sense? So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I didn't know if there was any correlation, or
There-
probably it's not between
The one with the strongest correlation is going to be circle and visual, but it's not. There's nothing else necessarily that would tie into the others. Again, it's just how you're going to present information back to somebody based on the questions that they're asking, and then we're adding in the more advanced based on the words that they're using in those questions or in the conversation. So the basic is, how does this work? Or I can't get a sense for how this works. Now I know that I'm going to use kinesthetic and process, right? I saw a hand over here. Yes?
Yeah, in relation to the 3 personality types, how would you describe somebody that buys a car for purely mechanical reasons and maintenance reasons? I mean, what is...
So that's the question is if somebody buys a car for, how would you deal with that person who is done for purely mechanical or maintenance reasons? And I will tell you that person is process driven. In other words, they've looked at it and they've said, okay, I know that I'm going to have to maintain a car, or I know that this is the service record of this car. And so they are looking to either minimize that process or how many times that they're going to go and give money to their dealer or whoever's going to take care of their car. They've looked at that as a process.
So what personality type is that?
It's a triangle. Because they've weighed out, here are the differences if this is what I've got to do to take care of the car. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That was a lovely hesitation there.
Yeah. No, I was asking more like you said the personality types. Not using circle, triangle, or square.
Mhm.
But, the other 3 types you're talking
Oh, so the auditory kinesthetic?
Yeah.
Okay. So with reference to that, those are 2 different things. So one of them is, so the circle, triangle, square is how somebody makes decisions.
I understand.
Right, so the auditory, visual, and kinesthetic is how you are going to present information to them so that they make those decisions the right way.
Now, would that be digital if you were talking about maintenance?
Yes. So, well, you could have any number of things that are there. So, in other words, if somebody so let me try and give this to you in another way. Let's say, for example, you've got somebody that wants to buy that car, right? So, are you that person, by the way?
I have weight.
Yes,
Yeah, I think, but I'm a mixture of all of it.
sure, everybody is, by the way.
Yeah, but when I buy a car, it's mostly visual and mechanical and maintenance.
Okay, so based off of what you just described to me, you led it with visual, so I would probably lead you with visual. I'd tell you how the car looked, I'd show you the car, I would talk to you about how other people see the car. And then what I would do is I would go in and describe when you buy this type of car, I'm not gonna see you very often, because I've sold this to you, it's got a low maintenance record, it's got some other things, I'm gonna throw out facts that are associated with it, but that's not going to necessarily tie into your NLP or the way that I'm going to resonate with you in terms of how I'm presenting information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so my point is that related to like, what do you call it, digital?
So it's auditory digital. So, no, so auditory digital here, let me just take it back
Is
here.
there visual, digital?
No,
Or is it-
no. So these are the words that are auditory digital words. These are the things when somebody looks down, straight down, this is where they go. So, I mean, seriously, the eyes are the windows to the soul. It is absolutely 100% true. You can tell exactly where somebody is emotionally and if they are in your conversation based on where their eyes are. So if they look down and they spend their whole life looking down, it's not a bad thing. They're not necessarily pessimistic. It doesn't mean that they're not listening. It just means that they're processing. Make sense? Pardon? No, it's still, it's a mirror image, so if down is still down. It's not that they look up to process. They look left instead of right, right instead of left, but it's, the mirror sits here versus sitting like this. Or like this, or, you know what I mean. All right. Any other questions on NLP or anything else before I move on? Yes?
I hesitate to bring this up, but as a young professional, when I was just starting out, I was taught that what you would do is observe the person that you're talking to. For example, I'm an architect, I'm doing a bank president. I'm designing a garage for some automotive person or something like that. And I was taught that you would observe them and see their pace, the way they talk, how fast or enthusiastic, or how laid back they were. I didn't know about guys like you. I never heard about this stuff. But I learned that we would observe who you're dealing with. So you try to make them as comfortable or develop rapport with them at levels they were comfortable with.
Right.
And I just want to throw that out.
No, it's absolutely the case. So, in your case, you would observe them, you would watch them. Okay. Can you watch somebody over the phone? No, unless you're a stalker, and then you're kind of creepy. So,
The visual you just gave me was like, oh,
what are you wearing? All right, so the most important thing, or the only thing you have to go by, is what they are saying and how they are saying it. And so the words become absolutely critical. And so to your point, sir, I don't know your name, the gentleman who was recommending watching television, I'd say just turn the chair around and listen to television.
Thank you.
Because that's what's going to matter to you, how somebody is using their words, and then we'll get into mirroring and matching and building rapport and all of those other things here in a bit. But these are the most essential parts of the profiling and basically the understanding who you're talking with component of the sale. Because if you don't do that, you're talking over them or talking to them. You need to talk with them. Make sense? Okay. Follow the laws. Okay, this is where we're gonna get into some heavy stuff of persuasion and influence. A gentleman by the name of Robert Cialdini. Anyone heard of him, know of him? Okay, a couple people. Have you read his books? Wonderful. All right. So, Robert Cialdini wrote a book called Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion. Phenomenal book.